Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Profit. We have published at least 11 to 12 episodes by the time you're hearing this, maybe a few more. And so I am excited today to actually introduce you and welcome you a little more formally to our firm and to our podcast, but also to Shana and me and letting you guys know who we are and what we do and why we're even here on this journey today. So we are today going to kind of do an introduction that didn't quite fit when we launched. And we want to just let you know a little bit more about the heart behind Prospera and Unfiltered Profit and how we got here. So I am Caitlin Eldridge. This is Shana Asper, and we are here to just chat today a little bit about our company and ourselves.
Yeah, it's been a much needed episode, I think,
I
to
think so too.
launch. We've been needing to get this out into the world, and the one we recorded as part of the launch doesn't really fit anymore, or it's not as in depth as I would like for it to be. So it's nice to sit here and dive into this today. But let's talk first about Prospera. I'm going to let you take that away, Lynn.
Yeah, so we are Prospera Strategy LLC, bookkeeping, accounting, and tax firm that was founded end of 2024, early 2025 by Shana and myself. So we both had run companies and decided to get together and run a company and grow a company together. And so that is what brought it about. We really loved the idea of prosperity, of time, both prosperity and time and money. And so we stumbled upon Prospera as our company name. Our desire and mission for this firm is that we bring business owners more time and more insight into their businesses so that they can choose to do other things than sit down and do their books and taxes and worry about the numbers in their business. There's enough to do. And we wanted to take this piece off. And so that is what brought us together. And we kind of hit the ground running. We decided we were going to form this in tax season. And I kind of bring the tax background. Shauna brings the accounting. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And so we went from tax season to I had a surgery to Shauna having her baby early because why not?
Why not?
To our husbands just having complicated schedules, her husband making the formal transition over to the airlines, and then summer. And if you have kids and know that summer is a little wild, so I think we're finally getting to a schedule and normal. But that is
Don't
we've
tell the
just
universe.
right. Never mind, there is no schedule and normal. But yeah, so we are finally, I think, getting to the point where Prospera really feels like us, and we really feel like we have the ability to sit down and grow it and work within this kind of new company. We're shedding the old ones, I think, a little bit quicker than I had expected, and that feels good.
Was really good. And we, as you know, all of those things sound like chaos as they felt like chaos. Our team would agree with you that there were aspects of it that felt like chaos. I don't think our clients felt that.
Mm-mm.
Maybe I'm being optimistic in that, but I don't.
Hopeful.
We tried to shelter them from any level of chaos, and they certainly didn't feel as much chaos as we did in the process, the transition. And so we've gotten to have a lot of fun things, chaotic things that come with growing a business, growing a brand. We've added team members, all sorts of fun stuff along the way. And I know we're excited to talk more about those pieces of it as
Mhm.
we're going to do a little bit more series, pull back the curtain on what kind of conversations we had when we were thinking about merging. And then what did we talk about as we were stepping into the merger? How's it going? All of those things are conversations to come. And I think there's a lot of good things we can share there that help our listeners with their business decisions or considering partnership, or if you're
Yeah.
in a partnership, any of it.
Yes, I think so too. So, with that, let's dig in, Shauna. Let's find out a little bit more about you. Introduce yourself, your background, your role, kind of where you are in our Prospera organization. And then, yeah, what's been fueling you for the last 6, 7 years that you've been running a firm?
Yeah. So, but prior to launching Prospera, I owned a bookkeeping and consulting company called Cultivated Strategy. I launched that in 2019, and I'll talk a little bit more about what got me there. But I ran that for the past, I can't math, live 5-ish years by the time before we merged, 6 years, whatever it was, depending on the months. It's been nice to step into this and kind of step into this full service role for clients, because before, again, I was just bookkeeping and consulting. We did some CFO level services, but It was all very accounting focused, and I partnered with tax preparers for my clients' tax returns, which is great. And I have some really great colleagues out there. But I would also occasionally run into ones where it was like, okay, well, I can't control their process. Like, I have your financials done January 31st, February 1st, and they're ready to go, and you still get extended, or you're not getting the tax planning you need. All these other pieces that I really wanted to be able to control, I could not. And that was one of the things for me that sparked our merger. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about the merger. But so that's what I was doing, running Cultivated Strategy. I feel like I was always meant to be a business owner because of my background. So I grew up working in my family's civil engineering and surveying company. My dad is a civil engineer. My dad was self employed practically my entire life. There's only like a year and a half of it where he wasn't, if even. And so I've from all the different offices and the growing and the merging and everything that he did along the way, that was always just part of my life. My mom joined him as the CFO of the company when I was probably in elementary school. And
Oh,
I'm not kidding that I was given QuickBooks Desktop on my computer as like a 13-year-old because I wanted to reconcile my bank account with my like $100 in it or whatever. But I was like tracking all of my expenses and reconciling my statement every month. So the fact that I ever wanted to be an engineer or an architect or any of those other things that I like thought about along the way and then pivoted into accounting is kind of laughable because it's like, well, you were clearly always meant to be an
to
accountant.
be.
Like I worked in the accounting in their office, all of that fun stuff. So I
So
went
you went
into
off to
account.
college knowing you were going to be an accountant or still entertaining an engineer at that point?
No, I started in engineering and I did
Okay.
really well. It wasn't until I was in my Calc 2 class and I was like, oh man, they just added another variable to this. Like now it doesn't make any sense. Why am I even doing this? I showed up to physics class and like didn't know what was happening. And I was like, I can't do this. And the joke's on me because I worked on my PhD in accounting for 3 years and I had to teach myself Calc 1, 2, 3, and differential equations in order to be able to do the math for the research for accounting. So like I thought I was avoiding all of that
Yeah,
calculus
not
and
so
I ended up
much.
just teaching it to myself anyway. The reality is when you find a good resource and you understand the why behind things, everything makes a lot more sense. So now I'm like, okay, I really like calculus. It makes a lot of sense. I understand why we're solving for the area under this curve. Like it's very cool. It has value. I will fight anybody that says algebra is worthless. It's like, how many times in your life do you solve for X?
Right.
Every day. You just don't do it in the form of like
A written
X plus
equation.
3 equals Y or whatever.
I say that's where I like end in thinking that like math, like the usefulness of math to me ends at like algebra. I was like, that's what we needed to get to where we are. I did not find the value in calculus, which is why I have not touched it since high school when I took an AP class, tested out of it, and never looked at it again.
But when you get into statistics and you
Yes.
understand like, okay, and this is why we're solving for the area under the curve, you're like, okay, like
Mm,
I can
yeah,
do
sure.
that. I get it. But Caitlin's like, nope.
No. It is for sure. Both Sean and I would say, are like educators at heart. I had toyed with getting a PhD back when I was in public accounting. And there were a couple of things that derailed me. I didn't have my master's. I can talk about that later. But when I looked at the length of the program compared to like an MD medical doctor and the amount of like math and stuff, and the fact that you were doing more research on accounting than like teaching accounting, I was like, I don't see the purpose. And for sure, if someone had listed like the calculus classes I probably would have laughed because again, senior year of high school was the last time I touched anything that complicated.
Yeah, it was a journey. So as far as my background goes, I went to NC State, so North Carolina State University, go Pack for my undergrad, my bachelor's and my master's. So I did both of those in 4 years, sat for the CPA exam at the same time, just like burning straight through it. Did I have a fun time? We're not going to talk about fun. I was accomplished and that's what I was doing. My husband's enjoying himself and, taking 4 years for his bachelor's. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do all of this before we get married and I'm going to get it done in 4 years. I'm not going to say whether that was a good idea or not. I did
I
it and
did,
it's
Josh. I did the
done.
same. I just didn't get the master's behind it, but I did the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a personality type, probably.
I think
And
so.
then, from there, I was a fast burner, like interned at the Big Four accounting firm at KPMG. And then I had to turn down my full-time offer because my wonderful husband was going to pilot training and I was following him there to the middle of Mississippi, and there was no KPMG and remote work wasn't a thing. So all of a sudden my profession is a little bit derailed after being the overachiever, outperformer, everything for so long. I ended up working in the family construction company, helping my dad take something that was kind of this side hustle entity and turn it into what is now their full time work. So they've closed down the civil engineering company and they focus fully in this construction company that started off as just utilities, so water and sewer. And I learned how to do takeoffs. I can grab a plan sheet and tell you all the materials that are needed on it, yeah, all that fun stuff. I did field work, directional drilling, locating, all sorts of things. So I
I
can
love
I can
that.
hang with the conversations
Yeah.
around construction. And they now run it, and it's all sorts of site work, concrete, paving, water, sewer, grading, all sorts of things. So I have a lot of background in the
Mhm.
construction area, which is fun. And I have a lot of clients that are either construction clients or they touch that industry, real estate development, all those sorts of things. So I like the background, but not exactly what you wanted to do after you just got your master's in accounting and you think you're going to change the world through debits and credits. If you ask my team, I set up this like beautifully horrible chart of accounts for my parents' company that's like 200 account lines
Oh
long.
my
And
god.
it is my Frankenstein. And we still handle their bookkeeping. So we get to work in that every single day. But, you're young and have energy and excitement. And I poured
Yeah.
it into that chart of accounts. I really did. Nerdiest thing that I could say, probably.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
Well, so we ended up staying after training. So he
Oh,
got
he failed.
faked.
Okay.
Yeah, his first assignment was being an instructor pilot, and we stayed there. And so at that point, I had lost someone really important in my life, my grandmother, and it was just this, like massive pivot point all at one time. And I was like, I'm going back to school. I'm either
Mhm.
going to be an engineer, I'm going to go get a psychology degree and be a therapist, or I'm going to go work on my PhD. And the PhD won out. We got an apartment in Tuscaloosa where I would stay a few nights a week. And I worked on my PhD at the University of Alabama and was doing really well, but realized how much that world just did not align with who I was as a person. And I have my colleagues from that time are still like they're accounting professors at great universities, and I
Mhm.
admire them. It's just not a world that was for me. The research and everything just felt so far removed from the boots on the ground aspect that I was used to from growing up in small business.
Yeah.
And you teach enough snotty teenage undergrad kids that ask you for a 20-point curve at the end of the semester. And you're just like, this is what I'm going to do. And like, we can say, like, well, it's the ones that are going, like, that really want to join the professor or the profession that you're doing it for. I hear you. But
Have you
you
seen
get
Accounting
tired of the
101?
yeah, you get tired of the rest of it. And so it just kind of was, again, one of these pivot moments where I was like, this is not it. Like, this is not who I am. I can't care enough about this research.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. It's not impacting tax code. It's not impacting anything.
Yeah,
Says me
you're not
who's
wrong.
not in it anymore, but it's great. And if you just like the intellectual stimulation of that, amazing. I support you. I
Yes.
enjoy the intellectual stimulation of what I do
Yeah.
now and working with the business owners we work with. So when
Well,
I
and the
decided,
lifestyle would have been in conflict too with the military lifestyle because from what
yes,
I've heard,
yes.
you have to travel and teach at a lot of places before you tenure.
Well, it's more that, programs care about where they place you because that
Mm.
matters to them in their ranking. And so I was at a research school. They would have wanted me to go to a research school. So now,
Mm.
like, was that compatible with where Jeff was going to get stationed? Would we have to live apart? I wasn't willing to do that. I wanted to have a family. There are just all these different aspects. And I wasn't done with my PhD. And we were
Mhm.
moving to California, and they were going to want me to be back in Alabama for a period of time. So just all these different aspects where I was like, I'm not willing to do that. Like, we're apart enough as it is. This isn't fulfilling to me. Like, if it's fulfilling to you and it's worth that challenge, great. It wasn't for me. And I was like, this is not it. Like, I had already spent a semester apart from him. I got the wonderful opportunity to go do research at Notre Dame for a
Oh,
semester. And it was the winter, and no one should live in any place that cold.
I guess we should let them know. Shauna lives in Florida. I live in Nebraska. So, like, I would have been all for Notre Dame. I hated our time in Mississippi, but I would have been all for going up north in the winter.
I learned that there are these things called polar vortexes. And I also learned that it can snow a foot and then it can be warm enough to rain, but it's not warm enough to melt the snow. But
King of
it's
ice.
cold enough, the rain freezes on top. So now to walk through the snow, you have to punch through ice. I'm going to keep my
Yes.
70-degree plus weather year round. Thank you. It was traumatizing to say the least. If we really want to blame somebody on why Shauna left the PhD program, we're going to blame the
Notre Dame.
snow.
Like, never. You're not sending me to a program up north.
Yeah. Yeah. Awful. Yeah. So after I decided to leave the program, that was when I launched Cultivated Strategy. And to be honest, I was so burnt out on accounting and like felt lost in the profession that I started off being a business coach because I was
Okay.
like, I don't want to do accounting anymore. I'm
Mhm.
done with it. And then you get it in this world of business coaching and you're like, my key differentiator as a business coach is the fact that like I actually know what I'm talking about when it comes to finances. And that quickly morphed back into doing accounting work, doing fractional CFO work, all of that kind of stuff. So that's how I launched the company. And honestly, it was the best decision and most life-giving thing possible. I didn't know it was going to take that long because I had launched a version of my own business in 2015, failed miserably because I decided to charge $30 a month for bookkeeping. Yes.
Shauna.
Yes.
Oh my
I
goodness.
had one client and I charged $30 a month. Anyway, like obviously that's not sustainable. No one lives on $30 a month. And guys, it costs way more than $30 a month to have a bookkeeper handle your finances. There was a lot of learning
Yeah.
and confidence and everything that needed to come between 2015 and 2019 when I relaunched a business.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
So when it comes to working with our clients, I've seen a lot in the small business world between like my parents were very open about the financials in their companies and went through the recession and all like
Yeah.
the Great Recession with all of that. And so between their experience, me watching that, what I've done in my own business and then working with clients, I have a lot of different viewpoints of how small business impacts families. And it
Mhm.
can be incredibly life-giving and it can be incredibly soul-sucking. And we are here to help our clients live in that life-giving cash flow expansiveness of small business ownership, not the soul-sucking part. If
Yes.
it's sucking your soul, something needs to change.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because that's not how we want to live, without a doubt.
Yes, but that is more than enough about me, briefly my role. So we'll talk about this more in the merger episode, but I am the COO at Prospera. We are business partners,
Mhm.
but Caitlin is our visionary. If you are an traction, an EOS type fan, Caitlin is our visionary. I am our integrator, and that is how we roll around here. And we'll
Yes.
talk more about that. But let's hear about you, Caitlin, and your background. Enough about me.
I loved it. Also, Shauna has 2 kids,
Oh, yes, I did
but
not
she's
say
chugging.
anything
I
about my
will throw it
family.
in there just to make the 5 that I have look not as nutty.
We have 7 kids around here. You divide them up how you see fit.
Just send them to whatever house works. It's fine. Yes, Shauna has 2 kids.
I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 4-month-old at the time of this recording,
Yeah.
4-month-old son who was born 5 weeks early and was a very
Right.
healthy, only spent 6 hours in the NICU. I'm very proud of him. We had a strong conversation before he was born, and I said, we are a family of fighters. You can need a little bit of help when you get here, but you are not giving up, mister.
You are choosing to come early, you will fight, and we're not spending all the time in the NICU. Let's go.
Yes.
And he
He
did, and he's
he
so
did
cute.
well. He did well.
So cute. Yeah. So, oh, goodness gracious. So, I did not grow up with any exposure to self employment. So, my dad was in the military. I guess I had some. My mom owned a business for a short period of time, which she owned like a franchise part of a business. But I grew up very much in like You go to work and you get a job and you climb the ladder, and that is the path to success. When I was in high school, I took some accounting classes. My mom tried to get me to help her with her accounting stuff. And like I enjoyed the concept of accounting. And then she like brought up QuickBooks. And I was like, I'm not quite sure I know exactly what's going on here. We can try to figure it out, but not my thing. And so I went ahead and decided I'd just pursue like going and finding a corporate job. So I went to college and my plan was a business degree with a language because I was going to go run hotels. That's actually what it was. I had seen,
Mm.
I think the show was called Las Vegas, where there was like hotels that these people would run and like the casino. I just thought that was the most glamorous thing in the world. And I was like, that is what I will do. I will travel the world. I will run hotels. I did not think about the like, I will have to start at like the front desk on the midnight shift. Like none of that crossed my mind at all in this grand plan. But so I went to school, went to a small school in Nebraska. Like the college was smaller than my high school class, I believe was how the numbers worked out. Like my total college population was less than my senior class in high school. So itty
Wow.
bitty school. I had one accounting professor for all of my accounting classes, save for cost accounting. We had a different person for that. But business required accounting 101, took it, made the mistake of telling her I thought it was fun. And she's like, well, then I have a degree for you. And this was 06. So the recession hadn't started yet, but I think I had enough fear of like, what does one do with student loan debt? And it's not
Mm.
working like a hotel desk job to pay it off. And so when she told me like I would get a job out of college and it would pay a nice salary, I was like, cool, sign me up. I will take it. So I went off into the accounting world and took the classes. Actually did find the language of accounting a lot of fun. The concepts of accounting were really cool. I enjoyed the interplay. And then we had to pick audit or tax in order to like do our job interviews. And I just didn't think I could think like a bad guy, which was in my head. Like the auditors have to
Mm.
go in and they have to find the people who did things that were bad. And I just was like, I'm not sure I can get there. And I don't find it enjoyable. And we also had to take like a systems class. I was like, none of this is fun. But taxes were. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that you have a gray area, that you get to read the law, you get to kind of decide what you want to do. I didn't mind filling out by hand the 1040 in class. I was like, cool, I'll just go do that. So I took taxes. And Deloitte hired me gratefully, thankfully. And I worked with their high net worth individual department for the majority of my time there. I did some audits and some corporation taxes, but the most of it was spent on one of our high net worth clients. And that is a fascinating world. And that part I did enjoy. I did enjoy learning about how these people with like 50 million to $1 billion, like what do they do for taxes and how do they spend their money?
That would have
And
been so cool.
it was so neat. And they would have like, you would have a family controller. Like they have family
Mm.
offices, but they didn't prepare the taxes. But the family office had a controller basically. And at one point, the senior or the manager on the gig came over to my desk and he's like, do you want to see something cool? I was like, yeah. He goes, this is their budget. This is their like expenses for the year. And it had like her clothing expense. And she would have people go, like a private plane would go buy the clothes, bring them to her to try on, and then go and return. And it was just like an astronomical number, way more than my salary, probably 2 or 3 times it at least. And that was like just the cool things we got to see. We also got into like the estate planning stuff because back then there was so much estate planning to be done because the
Mm.
estate exemption was so low. Fascinating though, but like we're talking, I think their businesses filed in almost every state. So it was a nightmare tax wise,
Yeah.
but really cool to learn. So I did that. My husband also joined the military. He went down to Oklahoma while I stayed in Nebraska. And as it got closer to him moving up here, I kind of looked at my Deloitte schedule and I looked at his schedule and I was like, we will never see each other. I could like guarantee that when he would be deployed would be like my downtime. And when he was home,
Mm.
I would be in busy season. And that's how it worked. So I ended up leaving. I went to work for a family office since I had that experience. We had one locally that hired me. And unfortunately, like the day I started, their controller quit. I was hired to work under him and he left. So I got to start and I was like told, good luck. Here are the systems. And if you know anything about public accounting, you know that we work in a silo. Like we don't see a whole lot. We get good at a little bit of stuff. And I was good at taxes. I hadn't done accounting. Everyone else brought their accounting reports to us. And so that's what I got. And the CFO was like way past retirement age, but he was like a family friend. So he just wasn't in the place to like mentor and teach anymore. Like the controller was running the gig and he didn't stay for any training. And so it was an interesting year. And a very tough one of like, if this is the rest of my life, that is not okay. And we're fortunate to live with a lot of big companies. So my husband wasn't going to move anytime soon. So I joined Union Pacific's tax department. And that I think is where that like love of tax thrived, of getting to see and do a whole lot, getting more exposure to the accounting side, getting more exposure to the tax side, getting exposure to the audit side, like all of it. And it was really cool. The problem inevitably was we had kids and my husband kept deploying, and corporate accounting, again, was not on board with remote work. And it was just too hard. It was too hard to juggle it all. And so when we had our twins, I decided it was time to, I was going to do stay-at-home mom gig for a while. And then a friend offered up a couple of her clients. And then I can't do anything halfway, as Shana knows. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well grow the business. And so before I knew it, I had a tax business with some bookkeeping, and then morphed it into like tax accounting and consulting, and then realized that I honestly don't love the bookkeeping and accounting part. Like if you could bring me clean financials, I will do the tax piece. I just didn't love the accounting piece as much. So I was like, it's time for something different and a different challenge. And I wanted to grow, but I didn't want to grow alone. Because as we will find out, the systems part of my brain just doesn't function the same. And so I knew that was needed. And so I was like, there's got to be a way. So Shauna and I had kind of danced around it for a while with like invitations back and forth. And then it was just time. It was time to merge. Babies and busy season be damned. We were going to go for it. So yeah, that's kind of how we got here. I absolutely love talking to clients. I do love the big picture. I love just like looking at things and seeing where we could move them. I just don't always have to like go in and make it move, which is like that accounting piece, right? Like I was fine getting, hey, this is the thing, seeing like maybe where things needed to be shifted, the balance sheet, profit and loss. And I didn't mind digging into like, can you deduct that? And what does it look like? And all of those. So yeah, I've got 5 kids. The twins are 7, 5, and 2. And we are finally out of diapers during the daytime as of this recording, which is so exciting.
So exciting.
And we live in the Midwest and life is pretty good. My husband's in the Guard, so we don't have to move right now or for the foreseeable future. And I just found that like the beautiful part of what we do is that we do help people tax-wise save money. We help them just have something to make decisions off of so that they can improve their life. And I'd love being able to take something complex and make it make sense so that anyone else can do it. And I think there's just an approachability to both Shauna and I that has really helped people be like, hey, you can teach me. Because I did. I really did think that it would be cool to teach. But at my school, you got your 150 hours without a major or without a master's. And so I didn't have that degree. It was going to be so much schooling. And then when I looked at like the fact it was for research, I still think tax research would be cool, like DC stuff. I don't have the energy to keep up with the politics and the hours that would be required to go work at a think tank there. So this feels like a nice
the people doing the real research.
Yeah.
And again, to my colleagues, if any of them are listening to them.
Yeah. And I think the cool part is that this job tickles all of the different things. Like I do like psychology. I like the emotions aspect sometimes. And we get to do that. We get to be like the numbers psychologist to our clients.
Yeah. Or their business therapist is the way
that
I phrase it. So I like get that therapy part, and we still get to teach. We are growing our team. So again, we get to step in and help our clients. Like we get to take their puzzle. We, especially right now, I don't know what it is right now with some of the clients that we're doing intakes for, but they've got some complex stuff going on with preparers that have messed stuff up. And so we're creating action plans for fixing those things. So we get to do that, and then we get to pass things on to our team and educate our team and help them through doing some of the work. And, obviously we're still doing some of that work, but we get to teach them. Yeah. We're going to have some things coming up where we get to teach our clients or people that want to learn from us, business owners. So we're getting to touch on all those things we wanted to do with our careers. Yeah. But it's just within the scope of Prospera, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I think we get to build this company that both of us wish it existed when we were trying to like sort this out and figure out where we wanted to go and how we wanted to do it. The majority of our team right now are military spouses or first responder, former spouses. Like it's just recognize that there's wonderful people out there who just can't fit a 9-to-5. But we're also like tripping over how that looks. Like how do you build a company culture with everyone working remotely?
Yeah. And flexibility, but not, we got to have structure, but flexible.
Yeah.
It's messy.
It is and fun. And we'll talk about all of those pieces, but I think it's just the cool challenge that like we both understand accounting. Now it's time to and we understand building businesses, and now it's to merge it all and apply it to ourselves and grow to something that we can someday sell or let our kids inherit or whatever the case may be, and just help a ton of people along the way.
Yep. We just want to be really good accountants and help people prosper. I think that's like the simplest way to say it. It's like at the end of the day, if someone was like, at Prospera, you get some really good accountants and they care, I'd be like, yes.
Yeah. is it? We just care. I care that you're happy in your life and your business because what's like Shauna has said, like, what is the point? And you see it anywhere, right? So small businesses can eat your soul, the corporations can eat your soul. Like it's just trying to find that place and that balance, which is a tough word to use, but a balance where everything somewhat aligns and feels good and gets to where you want. So we've got all sorts of cycles, new clients starting up. I've got clients trying to sell their business. We've got clients growing and clients who are happy where they're at. And I just love that we can support them all.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. That is me. That is Shauna.
We're excited to share more along the way. Thanks for hanging with us in this episode. If you made it this far and listening to our banter and our backgrounds, we can't wait to share more about what went into the merger, our whole thought process. Hopefully, you can pick up from us. Like Caitlin and I are very intentional people. We did not just wing it into this merger, this partnership. We were very intentional about that. And we would love to share the behind the scenes, share what's working. We'll share what's not working, but
Mhm.
only when we've made it to the other side. I
Yes.
once heard we don't share our wounds, we share our scars.
Mhm.
And so we will do that when because certainly we're running into difficult situations. And as time passes, we will share more of our learning lessons there as well. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for being a listener to Unfiltered Profit.
Yes. And if you want to learn more about taxes and our favorite tax deductions or just hear from us in our newsletter, please click the show link below, the link in the show notes below. We will get all the words in order at some point. And yes, thank you guys so much. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.